Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So, today I want to talk about a really small detail from chapter 883 of One Piece and how it could potentially play a role in the future of Whole Cake Island. So I was talking to Red Hair Ragnar TV on Twitter, and we were talking about this, and he definitely convinced me that this is something that we need to keep our eye out for. Now, I'm not exactly sure what role this will play. There's many possibilities, and I will discuss them and give you my opinion on each one. But in the last chapter of One Piece, Katakuri said, "Sugar is the source of power." The chefs then went on to say that his meal times is where he concentrates on supplying his body with nutrition. And I think that it's important to combine this information with what was the major reveal of the last chapter. Hell, even the title of the last chapter, called Merienda, we learned specifically that Katakuri absolutely needs a bit of time every single day in order to relax. The impression that I get is that Katakuri, for the vast majority of every single day, acts like a person that he is not, and that this takes some toll on his endurance. But for some reason it is important for him to do so. But the cost for acting this way is that this Merienda is extremely important to him. We can see throughout the entirety of the fight that Katakuri is getting frustrated, that he's already 40 minutes past due for his meal. He even went so far as to say that he is not going to underestimate Luffy, and then proceeds essentially to underestimate him because he absolutely cannot wait any longer for his meal. We know that Luffy gains strength by eating, that he can be essentially beaten down and destroyed in every possible way, but he consumes a bit of meat and then all of a sudden Luffy is at full power. I wonder if Katakuri's Merienda serves essentially the same purpose for him. And so if this were to be true, I think it's very curious that as of the last chapter, Katakuri may have attempted to have his daily Merienda, but unfortunately Luffy cut it short. We can see the large basket of sweets the chefs provided for Katakuri, his nutrition, the source of his power, and for sure we can see that he does not eat it all. And in fact, I would speculate that he only really had time to eat one donut. And I'm not even sure if he finished that donut. So really what I want to speculate here, guys, is I wonder if Katakuri is essentially running on empty. That if this time of day is essentially his fuel, then the 3/4 of the donut that he ate is only going to fill him up and keep him going for a short while. In addition to this, it seems as though Katakuri is extremely self-conscious of anyone watching him eat. I wonder if Katakuri absolutely has to eat alone in an enclosed room, even while facing an enemy, even if it's potentially detrimental. That he just can't pick up some random sweet to fuel him. He would have to defeat Luffy first. Now, we're about to take this in a couple different directions, but if you take anything from this video whatsoever, it's that this might be important. Oda decided to introduce that sugar is his power for a reason. When Oda chooses the dialogue for his character to say, he chooses it with great care, and oftentimes there's no wasted dialogue, especially in regards to reveals. A lot of people have been complaining about Whole Cake Island's length and how Oda seems to be dragging it on, but even still, with these chapters of dialogue that you seemingly could have skipped, all of that information ends up becoming important later, whether it's to further emphasize something that Oda later does, or to give us new information which will later become relevant. Now, of course, there are some exceptions that I won't get into here, but this line strikes me as one of those that will become important later. And it combines oh so perfectly with the other facets of this that we learned, that Katakuri essentially needs his Merienda, and that he absolutely cannot eat while other people are watching him. And so Oda is really hammering home the parallels between Katakuri and Luffy, specifically their fighting styles. There's a lot of similarities, there's also some stark contrasts as well. But one thing that I find very curious is that Luffy just went Gear 4th, and Gear 4th has a time limit. If Luffy is unable to beat Katakuri during this time limit, then Luffy will surely lose. But how interesting would it be if, while Luffy has his time limit in Gear 4th, Katakuri simultaneously has a time limit? I think I've said on multiple occasions that I do think that there's some possibility that neither Luffy nor Katakuri win, that it's some kind of draw. and something like this could lead to this occurring. It certainly seems possible to me that Oda is setting up both Luffy and Katakuri running out of power at about the same time. Now, I think the problem with speculating this is that it's set up that you absolutely need a winner. That's whether it be Luffy or Katakuri, even if they were to both run out of power simultaneously, one would eventually regain power first, and I guess that would probably be Luffy, given that his haki eventually returns to him and he has insane willpower. And if he or Katakuri gets powered up, then their objective should still be to defeat the other person. Also, how incredibly anticlimactic would it be for the fight to essentially end with both of them sort of passing out? That does not make sense. So then, for this scenario to make sense, at least for me, you would need something else occurring. I think I talked about this in the past, and still something that I believe is possible, but they are in the mirror world, capable of seeing what's going on in the outside world through the mirrors. So if they both simultaneously run out of power, it's possible that during this time they become aware of something that is going on the outside world, and it for some reason or another changes their plans. Like for instance, if Katakuri saw Big Mom ravaging an island. But the only reason I'm slightly inclined to speculate this idea is there's a lot of people out there that think that Luffy shouldn't be able to beat Katakuri at this time. And I think that a lot of fans would have a sour taste in their mouth if Luffy was able to beat Katakuri because of a technicality, such as he missed his daily merienda. So then the premise of the fight, the purpose of the fight, is to showcase Luffy as roughly an equal to a Yonko commander. In fact, the Big Mom Pirates' strongest Yonko commander. Luffy definitely is in a really tough situation. It seems like a must-win situation. Luffy absolutely must defeat Katakuri in order to escape the mirror world and meet up with his friends again. As well as in the last chapter, Katakuri issued a death threat that I absolutely must kill you because you've seen what I'm like. So unless something changes, then Katakuri can't win because he would kill Luffy, at least based on what he said in this chapter. I really want to emphasize this. Based on what we learned in the last chapter, Katakuri is not going to capture Luffy and save him for later. Luffy knows his deepest, darkest secret, which he could share to other people that Katakuri cares about. And he also cares what they think about him. Keeping Luffy alive as of right now is a huge risk. So we need some sort of resolution between the two, some sort of mutual understanding, or we need Luffy to win, period. So if you are looking for a way for Luffy to get out of the situation without defeating Katakuri, this is kind of where you would have to be, I would think. But having said everything here, I know for sure that this isn't going to be the most popular train of thought. Really, what should be the popular train of thought, in my opinion, is that Luffy will defeat Katakuri. And this could also play a role in helping Luffy do that. To me, it seems possible that Katakuri, in a weakened state because he has not had his daily merienda and is low on his energy supply, that Luffy in Gear 4th is able to capitalize on that and defeat Katakuri. I know I said previously that this might leave a sour taste in many fans' mouths, but it seems like something that is incredibly possible to me. Luffy often takes advantage of his opponent's weaknesses, and in many circumstances, he will win by luck. If something like this were to occur, I'm sure that there will be many people out there calling shenanigans, saying, wow, Luffy has ridiculous plot armor, but Luffy has had ridiculous plot armor since the very beginning of the series. And sometimes very convenient things happen to help him along in his journey. People have been complaining about this so much in Whole Cake Island, but it's just so frustrating for me. I wonder how you got here and dealt with all of this when it's literally omnipresent in the story. Like for instance, Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria had the Straw Hats beat. It was about to be daytime and they were about to be erased from the planet because they had lost their shadows. But it just so happens that moments before they certainly would have been defeated, Gecko Moria essentially defeated himself. All I'm trying to convey here is that Oda seems to be very critical and aware of power scaling within the series. If he doesn't feel like Luffy at the time is strong enough to deal with an opponent, he gives Luffy very favorable circumstances in order to achieve his objectives. Other shows such as Dragon Ball deal with this a different way. They give their character power-ups, power up every time that they could possibly need it. But Oda doesn't choose to go in that direction. He uses plots to power up Luffy or power down his opponents. And so if Katakuri literally is stronger than Luffy at the moment, it's possible that Oda throws something like this into the story to give Luffy what he needs to get out of here alive. So guys, is there something here or am I just spouting nonsense? Let me know what you think. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.